All right, and we are live. Hey everyone, we're at it again. Today, I've got a great interview with Colonel Retired Gross. She is a trailblazer in every sense of the word in regards to the physician's assistant position and everything like that in the military. So I'm going to have a discussion with her today about her journey and the roles that she plays today. So I hope that you enjoy today's interview. So here we go. All right. And without further ado, we add on Colonel Retired Pauline Gross.
Thank you.
How you doing,
Well,
ma'am?
I'm doing great. Thank you. And you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very good. Thank you for joining me on today's discussion. I'm looking forward to just hearing your story. I'm sure that it is as filled with details as the many books that's right behind you.
Oh, I've been asked many times if I should just write a book about everything that's so about my story. Someday I will.
Hmm. Understood, understood. And I'm sure you've had many opportunities to talk about your history, talk about what you've done. Obviously, we've got a great bio, but I'd like for you to just talk about it and share
Sure.
that story from you directly. So, talk to us. Who are you? Where are you from? And what are you all about?
Well, I'm from Alexandria, Nebraska, a small town of 300. Grew up on a
Hmm.
farm. My dad was a combat medic in World War II, and actually, right on D-Day, they had him and other medics wait till the next day to go over, so he wasn't there on D-Day. Um, but he came back from the war, married my mom, started the farm, had 13 kids, and
Wow.
10 of us have been in the military. Several of us have retired. Um,
Hmm.
one of my sisters retired from the reserves not too long ago, and then I had two brothers retire from
Hmm.
the Air Force. And the rest did their time and got out, used their GI Bill, went to school, and we're all over the country. I actually have a brother in Saudi Arabia, brother in North Carolina, Florida. I mean, Washington, no, yeah,
Hmm.
Oregon, Wisconsin. We're just everywhere. Um,
Okay.
but we're all very proud of what our folks started us off on joining the military. My oldest brother went in I think in '64, and it was like, oh my gosh, who does that? Um, but he wanted to go into electronics, so he did. He did his time, went to Korea and so on, and got out and then got a job up at Fort Detrick. Met his wife
Hmm.
there, and then my sister went in '68. She was like, "Oh my gosh, a woman going into the army!"
Hmm.
And she did.
Hmm.
She's the one just retired from the reserves not too long ago after 40 years.
Wow.
But after her, we all just kind of went in. Went in right. Three of us, three did not go in, but most all the girls did. So we actually had one, two, three of us were WACs, and one sister was a Marine. So I
Hmm.
went in thinking I was only going to go in for 3 years because that's what I
Right.
signed up for. You kind of go, okay, okay, I'll do it 3 years.
Hmm.
And you just kind of think that's what you're going to do. And after the got close to the 3 years as an OR tech, now I'm an OR tech. When I kind of, well, this is fun. Let me do it for another 3 years. So I did it for the 3 years, and I made staff sergeant. And then I thought, well, do I get out? What do I do? Well, I couldn't apply for another MOS because guess
Hmm.
what? I was a staff sergeant. And they told me back then and I even now I think you can't apply reclassify if you're a staff sergeant and so on. So I'm
Hmm.
going, okay, so what am I going to do? If I decide to stay in, how do I get promoted? And there really wasn't, all the opportunities were either, be a recruiter,
Hmm.
be a drill sergeant, which I couldn't see me doing. And then, or I had heard about this program, PA program, about a couple of years before, and someone told me, oh, well, you don't want to do that because all they do is take care of STDs and things like that. So I kind of passed it over. And then a couple of my friends, one of my friends got selected, and I go, why are you doing this? And so he kind of explained to me what it was because I had never met a PA. Um, and so, well, let me give it a shot, because either I'd get out or I got to do something, because I did not want to stay where I was at. And everybody's telling me, well, you'll never get selected. They're just not selecting that many women.
Yeah.
So I applied and I got selected, and I'm just going, oh my gosh, this is great. But I always tell all the students when I used to teach at IPEP, I never met a PA until I went to try to get a letter. And even then, it was like a 5-minute discussion. I found him after 2 weeks of looking at Fort Bliss, and they said, well, he works in the ER sometimes. So I met him up there, and I said, could you write me a letter? He said, sure. Why do you want one? And so I kind of explained to him, I thought I needed to grow personally. I needed to know more about medicine and so on. And I thought this would be a good way. That's all. And so he wrote me a letter. And I'm going, okay. And so once I got to PA school, and there was 33, 34 in my class, and one other woman and myself. And most of the class were Special Forces, Rangers, Airborne. And of course, I was the leg. And I should add on that my husband we weren't married at the time, was selected to go to the same class. But he had already decided he wanted to get out. So he got out. We got married about a month or two after I went to PA school. And so he's been following me ever since. As he tells people, he thought I could handle the military bureaucracy a lot better than he could. And yes, looking back, yes. So I went to PA school. People were telling me, oh, it's so hard and so on. And actually, I was an honor grad. But I didn't have any kids. I just got married. I did have a baby in phase 2. And then another one soon after that, after I graduated. But once I found out what I was going to do, I said, oh my gosh, is this what a PA does? And it was the best decision I ever made. And we were one of the last classes to graduate with just a certificate, no degree.
Wow.
And 2 years after I finished, they started awarding a bachelor's degree. So now I had to go get a bachelor's degree. So that's what I started working on. I got stationed where I did phase 2. They needed someone, and they really liked me. And so they kept me there. And then about 2 years later, I got sent to Honduras, to Sotocano, now Sotocano, back then with Pomarola. And you won't believe this story, but when I first got there, the chief nurse came to me and she says, we didn't want you here. And I'm going, really? Why? She said, because you're a woman. And because, again, what were they dealing with most of the time? STDs from people downtown and so on, and things like that. That she didn't think the men would be willing to come see me. And I'm just going, oh, it's too late. I'm here. So I did spend my 6 months there, and I had a great time. I learned a lot. And hopefully she realized it didn't matter what gender I was. The guys were still going to come in and see me and so on. So I got back from there and went to Fort Bliss, where I was at before I went to PA school. But now I'm a warrant officer. Wow. Was that something? I ran into people that knew me as a staff sergeant, and now here I'm a W-2, and they had to salute me. It was great. It was a good.
How was that experience where they had to make the adjustment? Like, hey, Sergeant. Oh, hey, man. How was that?
For me, because a lot of them had told me they didn't think I'd make it. It was rewarding. But for others, I said, you can do this. Just, if you just try, you'd be surprised what you can accomplish. And I learned a lot there. Actually, we were very busy because there were short of physicians, and so I would go work in my clinic during the day, and then in the evenings we would take turns up at the acute care clinic to triage because they were so backlogged. So it wasn't unusual to work 12 days straight, have 2 days off, 12 days. I used to tease my daughters. The only reason, I had 2 kids while I was there. I had 2 kids because I needed some time off. and you got but it was, I learned a lot. And because I got to work the acute care clinic, I saw everything. Because when you take care of soldiers, they're healthy. Very seldom, it's usually musculoskeletal, sometimes rashes and so on. But overall, they're very healthy folks. But working acute care clinic, you saw everything from the babies to the 99-year-old veteran and so on. And oh my gosh, but that prepared me to take my national boards, because up at that time I really did need to take them. So 6 years after I graduated, I took my boards. But because of that time there, it was easy. But if I hadn't done it, I don't know. It would have been hard. It did. And so it's another thing I tell people: you never know what you're going to take from whatever the Army gives you or wherever you put, because learn as much as you can wherever you're at. And it made a difference. Well, while I was there, let me know if I'm going on too much, but
it's fine. It's perfectly fine.
I met a PA, female PA, who I had first met about 5 years before, when she was doing phase 2. We became friends and we worked together. And later on, she went to teach at the Army PA program. And in 91, they came to me and they said, we're looking for another PA to come teach here. And Joan said, had recommended me based upon working with her. So, and that's another thing. I made a good impression and so on. And so the next thing I know, I'll leave Fort Bliss, I go back to Jackson and do phase 2 coordinating there. And from there, I go to the PA program. And because I've been a phase 2 coordinator at Jackson, now they wanted me to be the phase 2 coordinator over everything. So I spent 3 years doing that. And now guess what? Now I'm a captain, of course, because we commissioned in 92, which is, going from Warrant Officer 3 now to captain, it's like, okay. I don't even know how to explain it to people.
It's almost as if you jumped branch after branch after branch. Like you started off as a young enlisted, went up a little bit of rank, then you went to be a warrant officer, and now you're a commissioned officer, as in captain. So I'm sure that was a great experience.
Oh my gosh, yes. The one thing about being a W3, in most places, there aren't too many female W3s. So when you're walking around as a W3 female, people kind of, oh. They actually had the special order warrant officer caps and some things for me because, usually I was one of the only female warrants. So they didn't use at the clothing sales. But once you made captain, yes, it was a great feeling that, oh my gosh, I'm a commissioned officer now. But now I'm just one of many captains. But I will tell you, being commissioned has opened up so many doors to not just me, but to the PA, to PAs in the Army. We are, the things that we are allowed to do now is just tremendous. But that was in 92, and 94, I'm getting ready to retire, or I could retire. And a good friend of mine, a classmate, actually worked at PERSCOM. And I said, well, why should I stay in? Why? I can do this job anywhere. I could go back home to Nebraska. And he said, well, why'd you get your master's degree? And I said, really? I can do that? And he said, yeah, go ahead and apply. I did. And so in 95, I started to get my master's of public health, which then obligated me for how many years? 6 years. Back then, that was a lot of obligation for a 2-year program. Well, that took me to 26 years. So in the meantime, I come out of this program thinking I'm coming back to the PA program to teach. And I get a call in Korea and say, no, we want you to go to Fort Knox, to USAREC. And first I'm thinking, okay, USAREC. What does a PA do at USAREC? Well, I was the first PA at USAREC to be signed there. And I managed the application process for soldiers to apply to IPAP, the End-of-Service PA program. So I did that for 18 months. So I get out of Korea and immediately PCS my family to Fort Knox, and then did that for 18 months. Now I'm promoted to major already, and that's another great thing. That, that's even better. I used to tell folks, and I still do, that once you go from captain to major, people think, they don't just look at your gray hair, if you had gray hair, but they look at major. You've been around a while. As a captain, you could just be 4 years in the Army. And actually, believe it or not, I've had people tell me, you've only been in the Army 4 years. I said, as a captain, believe me, they look at me and go, gosh, why'd you take so long to make commissioned officer? So I made major there. But after 18 months at USAREC, PERSCOM called and asked, they said they wanted me to apply to be the career manager for the PAs. And a few years earlier, I had thought about that, and someone said, well, you can't do that job. You need someone who's been in the line and stuff like that to know all the units and stuff. And I go, okay. Well, I got the job, and it was supposed to be, and it was so, believe me, it was a quick turnaround. I think they selected me, and I actually had to be up there in 6 weeks. So I left my family at Knox till Christmas, and then I came back and got on. 2-year job turned into 4.5 years because of OIF, the PA that was supposed to replace me actually went with 3ID. It was one of the first groups over there. So instead of me leaving and trying to find someone else, the decision was just leave me in place until he got back. And so 4.5 years. But now I'm a lieutenant colonel, because I got promoted to lieutenant colonel while I was, let's see, oh my gosh, what year was that? 2003? Yes, 2003. And then it's like, okay, so where do you put me? I'm a lieutenant colonel PA. You can't really just assign me to a line unit or so on. I'd already been to all these other jobs. And when John came in to replace me from 3ID, we're going, guys, where do we put you? Because when he got there, we still hadn't decided. And our PA consultant called me up and said, you know what? There's a position to work. They're looking for someone at the Pentagon to work with the Surgeon General's office with medical holdovers, working with the National Guard and reserves. And he said, we'll put you there. You're a lieutenant colonel. You can, and a PA, that would be a great position. What a great assignment. 2.5 years there. And we traveled. We were gone about 2.5 weeks a month. And so, it was draining on my family because, again, I had 4 kids and a couple more graduating from high school and so on. But to travel around, see what the soldiers were coming back with and what they were having to deal with, especially the National Guard and reserves, because we had done away with certain programs like med hold companies and stuff because we didn't think we needed them. Yeah. And what are we doing with these folks? We couldn't just send them home. And that's what they were doing. And they were lost. So I did that for 2.5 years. And luckily enough, they decided I could go back to the PA program, and I was the branch chief there. Probably a little bit too long I was there. I got there in 2006, and I left in, people going to scream, 2015.
Oh, wow.
I know.
2 years as the branch manager.
Well, and there was reasons behind it. When you, again, Lieutenant Colonel PA, and there weren't that many positions at that time for Lieutenant Colonel PAs. I did go to Iraq for 8 months to work with MNSTICI, which is the Multinational Security Transition Command in Baghdad. And we worked with the Minister of Interior and the Minister of Defense or War with their physicians and so on. So I got to do that for the 8 months I was there. I came back. Now I'm promotable to colonel. And believe it or not, there was I was only female colonel. I was not the first female PA to make 06, a good friend of mine. did that, and she retired in '06. So for a while there was just like two of us '06s, and I didn't want to leave that position. Well, there really weren't too many places for me to go to, because we wanted that '06 at the PA program. And about 4 years later, after I made '06, which was in '09, we started to see more people get promoted. People were sticking around.
Yeah.
I think the one issue earlier on when we all became commissioned was that the time we finished PA school and so on, we had a lot of time in service. So a lot of folks just made it to major and they're already over 20 and so on. And they said, well, why stick around? And so they retired. So few of us, very few, when I went to the promotion board for '06, there were 3 of us. When I went to '05, there was 6 of us, and 5 got promoted.
Wow.
So weren't that many. So we figured 1 out of the 3 would get selected. And luckily enough for me, it was me. We didn't have anybody go for the next 2 years because we had nobody because they'd all retired. Well, we've seen a change. We've seen more and more stay in past their 20 to make the rank and so on. And I think it was in '08, the Army made a change. There was a policy change. I don't think it was just Army, probably DOD, that if you went beyond 30 years time in service, if you did 30 years commission time, you would retire at 75% of your pay. Well, once that change occurred, and I think it was done mainly for the command sergeant majors and some of the warrant officers in general, that you go over 30 years, you still continue to increase that percentage.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And because it's 30 years commission time, my enlisted time gets added to that, but it doesn't go against me for retirement. When I retired in 2018, I still didn't have 30 years commission time. So, but wow. Age is what got me, because the Army's policy is that you hit 62, you got to get out. So, so finally in 2015, I got the opportunity to move from the PA program, and we had folks that were coming in that had made the rank and so on, and so I was selected to be the command surgeon over Installation Management Command. And that was
at Fort Sam.
Huh? At Fort Sam.
There on Fort Sam. Yep. IMCOM. Yep.
Yep. And how did I even know about IMCOM? I really didn't know much about it. But I had known what the garrison says because I was one of the mayors on Fort Sam for several years. So that's one of those positions that it's a friend of mine was the garrison commander, and she says, hey, can you do this for me? And I said, sure. What does it entail? Well, I think I held that position for about 7 years. I learned about the garrisons and what they're responsible for and what they do. So when I went to IMCOM, it was like, oh, but this is across the world. Really opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Yes, IMCOM is all across the world. Ironically, I used to work for IMCOM myself, actually, in Germany. Yeah, I was working with Army Community Service there in Germany, in Kaiserslautern, Germany. But then I came back home to work for USAREC. So now I'm just a marketing, public affairs guy for USAREC. So I'm thankful for all the different things that Army has given me.
Well, I will say IMCOM, the folks that work there, you can find a lot of them were prior military and so on. And it's gone through a lot of changes. Every time you get a new 3-star in, things change and so on. But the people that work there, I learned so much from them, and why things are done certain ways on the garrisons. And because they have, you just can't have each garrison doing things their own way. So when any decisions are made, they've got to go across the enterprise and go, okay, if we make this change, I mean, we got to look at how is it going to affect us. And so it's very eye-opening. And so I will say that every position the Army has put me in has just educated me so much. And it's like, oh my gosh, but you use what you learned in the last assignment and last few assignments to do the one you're in. And you'd be surprised what you pick up along the way. So, okay.
Well, looks like we got some comments coming in.
Oh, I'm afraid to ask.
I'm actually gonna read off some of them that I saw on my Facebook page. One comes in from Sharon Twin Denson, and Sharon is the one who connected me with you.
Yes,
she said, "Same for me, Colonel Gross. Never met a PA until I needed a letter of recommendation."
Yes,
that's one that she said. But now I'm reading some comments that from different groups that our live discussion is going on in. And one said, yes, they're following. One says, wow, what a journey. I'm assuming that they just checked out your bio. And you're almost, let's see, almost over 40-year career.
44.
44-year career. Wow.
And I mean, looking back, I can't imagine I did that. It doesn't seem possible. But when I think about that, when I became a commissioned officer, I already had 18 years in. And when I became commissioned officer, it's just like I started a whole new career. Same job, but it was the opportunity.
It's a different place. You're in a different place, literally.
It is.
So I would say that you've kind of, for lack of a better word, you've fallen into a place where you were supposed to be at that time, I would say.
Yes, I'm a firm believer in that. I never asked for any assignment. I would just, when they called, I said, okay, where are we going? I would always question, why me? Why? Okay. And
let me add something. Someone left a comment saying the amazing things that happens when you apply. I would say you applied for and got the things that you were supposed to get at that time because of either circumstance or you've put yourself in that position for that opportunity. And you also did not listen to the naysayers when they said, why are you doing what you're doing?
Well, and you know what? That actually pushed me even harder. When I was in PA school, my counselor met with all of us, and he got to me and he said, by the way, I told him I'm getting married in 4 weeks. And he said that, we know where your grades are going to go. I just kind of looked at him and well, what did that do to me? It just pushed me even harder. I felt I had to show him that, whatever your perception is of I don't know whether it's newly married folks, females, I don't know, but I had to prove it to him.
Can I ask a couple questions?
You certainly can.
Let's talk about mentors that you've had and the people that you've mentored.
Okay.
Tell me about a certain mentor that you've had and what they've told you to help you get into where you're located right now. And then as a follow-up afterwards, we're going to talk about those that you helped push to get them to the place that they want to go to.
Oh my goodness. I will tell you, the person who has pushed me the most in my life is my husband. When I would come home and go, oh my gosh, dear, they want me to do this. And he said, well, why not? And I would say, well, I've always been told that was a guy, guys are supposed to do that. And he said, come on. And so he said, you go back tomorrow and you tell them you're going to take the job. And at each assignment, there was always that one person who you could count on to assist you when you had questions, go to for advice. I had a couple of them at Fort Jackson each time I was there. When I was at Fort Bliss, I had a female PA who was a great help to me. And she actually helped me get the job at the military PA program in '92 because she knew me and so on. But we had a great friendship. She was able to, what is the word? She educated me on a lot of things about the military. Believe it or not, I was very naive, even when I went to PA school, because I spent all my time in a medical center and not in a field unit like most of my classmates and so on. So she helped me a lot with that. Then I had a PA, another female PA, because most of my time I spent with men. Most of the PAs I worked with were men. Most of my medics were men. But the one, Sherry Murray, was the first female PA to get promoted to 06. I knew her since we were, let's see, she was a W4 and I was a W3. And we got assigned together a couple places and so on. We were in Korea together, but very, a tremendous mentor for me, pushing in a way, you know, you can do this, you can do this. Or if I needed someone to vent to or discuss something, she was always there, either by phone or I'd go and see her when we were on the same base. And we just, because she was a PA, one of the first female PAs in the military, and things that she went through. So we had a lot in common. But then I had a couple SP officers. Colonel DeMars, she worked with me at FirstCom and then later became the Corps Chief. I can't say enough about her. She, instead of coming in and saying, oh, I'm the 06, you don't know what you're talking about, stuff like that, you do what I tell you. She actually listened, and then we discussed why we should be doing something like this. And then she'd take what you learned, what you told her, and she'd think about it, and then we discuss it. So she showed me how a good leader deals and should talk to their folks. Because before, you know, it was just you and your medics and so on, and then the docs that you had to interface with. Even though I had been in charge of clinics, but there were small clinics, and most of them were medics. You said something, they did it. I learned a lot from leadership from her. And then a couple, the PA consultant, Lou Smith, who passed away a couple years ago, was a major as the consultant, which is usually a lieutenant colonel position. I got the PERSCOM, and there was a lot of things I didn't know because I'd never been in a line unit. And he would take the time, he'd call me every day and answer those questions or explain this or that and so on. And he never went out of he never made me feel like, oh, you're stupid. Why don't you know this? Or, you know, okay, just call me when you have problems. And he took the time. I learned a lot from that interaction. So when I went to the PA program to be the branch chief, I was hoping, I'll listen to you. I'm here to listen. Let's learn from this. Let's help each other through this, and maybe realize that there's a lot of, when students coming through the program and so on, we all come from different backgrounds and so on. And some people learn faster than others. Some, he helped me with my learn leadership skills. So those are the main ones.
Gotcha. So I got some questions that came in. Someone asked, and I'm sure you've enjoyed all of your assignments that you've had in your years. What was your greatest assignment that you've been assigned to?
PERSCOM. PERSCOM.
What was so great about it? What was so good about it?
And I before I got there, I would have said, who would want that job?
Yeah.
People complaining all the time and so on. But once I got there and you started working with folks and started listening to their issues and what their interests were and what they wanted to do in their careers, you kind of go, okay, this is not what I thought it was going to be like. And I felt that I could actually help soldier PAs get to those areas that they wanted to go to. And yes, I could, if I might have to send you to Korea before I send you here, but because I had just come from Korea not too long ago, and actually some of them had been my students back in the 90s, I had a good rapport with them. And I think that helped me a lot. But I think it's because I listened, and I was always thinking, okay, wait, you're interested in this? Okay, I'll keep you in mind. And, I'd make little notes, and I did. And I just felt like I could, it wasn't what I thought PERSCOM was all about. You're going to go there. And it was rewarding. Does that make sense? It
was rewarding about it. Being able to put people in places that they want to go to, knowing, and then I would assume seeing them succeed in those locations that they went to. Yeah.
And also being able to tell people, that's not what you need to be doing right now. But I was able to explain to them why. And so, that's probably, let's wait a couple years. Let's do this instead and set you up for that.
Would you say that a branch manager is kind of like a career advisor?
Well, that's what I was. We were back. Well, there's two different. I was branch chief at IPAP, but back when I was at PERSCOM, we were considered career managers and assignment officers.
Got it.
So I helped them. I mean, there was a soldier that I think he was going to retire, and he was a major, and I said, you should apply for CGNSC and things like that. And he said, why? I said, I don't know. You can get promoted to lieutenant colonel with your background. He's just like, really? And guess what? He did. But sometimes you just have to educate folks on the capabilities and so on. When I first got to PERSCOM, some reason I had been under this assumption that we could always stay in so many years because of whatever. And I got the PERSCOM, and I found out, no, we could actually go beyond 30 because all of our listed time and so on didn't count towards that. And I had been told just the opposite. So it was like, so I made a point of trying to answer all those myths so I could put it out to my fellow PAs and say, okay, this is what we were told here. That's not true. And so on.
Got you. So, ma'am, I've got some comments. Someone has given me a little bit of a background of who you are so that people could get a full idea of who you are. And it's from Sharon again. She wrote that Colonel Gross was the American Academy of Physicians Assistant 2017 Military Service PA of the Year. You could have stayed in your comfort zone as a clinician and retired after 20, but you chose to do over 40 with over 32 as a PA, and you never let your foot off the gas. And I tell you what, a lot of the times, many of us may be in a career that we're kind of like in a forest, and we're hitting every tree, and we're not really seeing the forest as a whole. I would say, honestly, you went through that forest, went back through the forest, and went through every little tree of that forest. And even if you had, like a negative experience, even early on, you still persevered through that career. And that's something that's inspiring to a lot of folks who are in your field.
Well, I hear so many folks talking about burnout and so on. And I mean, when the Army wanted to move me at 2.5 years, actually, I think that was one of the best things for me because, first of all, you go to someplace different people and so on. It's usually a little bit more responsibility, but that the change of an environment, getting a new house, your kids and getting them involved and so on. I can honestly say I have no idea what they mean by burnout. Yeah. Yes, I work long hours, very long hours, and I would take stuff home from PERSCOM and USREC and go to my children's sporting events with my laptop, especially during practice. And I would do PT while they're at their practice because that was the only time I could do it. So I have no idea what burnout is. But I think change and being able to say, I can do this. Yes, you go home and you think, gosh, what a day. And you think, I'm not going to be able to sleep because you're so worried about something. Then you just kind of go, once I realized the next day, well, I worked out all right. I learned real quick. Don't worry about it. If you did the right thing and did the best you could, it's going to work out.
Speaking of working out, can I ask you a couple questions on those who inspire to be a PA?
Sure.
What are the things that they should be doing? I don't know how far removed you are from knowing that information, but I'm sure you still have that information
Yeah.
that you could share to others.
The one thing, if you're not in a medical field, you can still apply. Years ago, you had to be from a medical field to apply to PA school back in the 80s and the 70s and so on. We changed that in the 90s. But I highly recommend before you apply, and I think actually we got it changed where you actually had some shadow time that you need to spend in the hospital with a PA and so on. Because we really want you to know what you're getting yourself into.
Yes.
I didn't. But because I worked in the medical field and I never knew what a PA did, but okay, this is just something new. But I found a lot of folks earlier on when I got there in 2006. So students would come up to me and go, I didn't think this would be this hard. I didn't think this would be like this. And I'm going, so what did you think? They would say, well, when I was deployed, that PA was doing all this great stuff, put chest tubes in and da-da. I said, well, but that's just one small part.
Yes.
And some of them quit. They didn't want to do it. So we added in where they needed to go work with a PA or a physician, just so if they really wanted to do it, they had an idea. And start getting those classes. And, my daughter spent 5 years in the Army as a pharmacy tech. And when she went in, and she told all her friends and herself, you don't just go to work and go home. Take college classes. Do something. Be prepared, because if you're taking start college class because you're not really sure what you're going to, but if you're want to do something medical, a lot of the basics are the same until you decide which avenue you want to go down. But keep your mind educated. Keep driving that so that when you do go to school, like if you go to PA school, it won't be that big a shock. So that's why I usually
I'll tell you what, ma'am.
well,
I'll tell you what, just a little bit of a background with me. So I'm a former combat medic myself. I served as an enlisted medic from '02 to '05, and then I went off to school, Green to Gold, and I was in nursing school for about a year and a half. And then I left. Remember what I said was, as in ROTC, as in the past.
Yes.
And then I switched my degree to psychology, and so I've got a degree in psychology today. But it was very rewarding and somewhat kind of easy when I got into nursing school, and everything. Everything just kind of if you set your mindset in a certain way during medical school, combat medical school, it's still transferable.
Yes.
In any sort of medical school that you go to. So I definitely agree with that point.
Well,
but go ahead.
I was just going to say back in, was it 89, 90? Oh, 88. I was actually doing prerequisites because I was thinking about going to medical school. And that must have been 87. And I was taking chemistry. What was I taking? I think I was taking physics and biochemistry. And across the mountain in El Paso. Well, I got pregnant with baby number 3, and I get so car sick I can't drive, and because I throw up, so I had to stop. Well, I re-looked at everything and thought, do I really want to do this? Why am I doing that? And I made the decision this was not the right time. And I said, I'm a PA. I'm doing this for a reason. I'm here. Let me just be the best I can. And again, still, I was going to get out 20. And it's still W-2. But because of that, I have no regrets not going. There was a reason why I didn't go or didn't finish those classes. There was something, and now I look back and go, it was the best decision I ever came up with.
Tracking. So let me ask, ma'am. So I know you've been 2 years now removed from active duty time, and now you're at home. I'm sure you're not just at home hanging out doing nothing.
No.
What's your current roles that you've got going on right now, and how is it helping the medical field? What roles do you do right now?
Well, I do volunteer at the IPAP. I help with BLS, and I actually help with some of the testing and so on right now. A lot of it we can't do right now because of the quarantine and so on.
COVID-19, yes. Yep.
But I have, they know that they need assistance. They need some extra people. I get a text message from Colonel Jones and said, okay, just tell me when, where, and so on. I also volunteer. So at the TMC Troop Medical Clinic at McWethy. I was doing it about once a month for half a day, but because of the whole quarantine stuff, I haven't done it since I think it was February, which is a shame because I did enjoy it because I used it more as a when I saw the soldiers, and so on. I use it as a teaching time because they're going to be medics or whatever. Let them show me what they've learned so far. So since I haven't been able to do that, even though I did help with BLS not too long ago, I'm making masks for people. People that can't really afford it. And, I love the sew. I quilt and so on. But I'm also past president of the Society of Army PAs. And actually, I've been president. I've been, secretary. I actually held every position except treasurer. Off and on since 87 and so on. So I've been around, and now I'm debating now whether to put my name in hat for another position on the board because I feel so strongly that we need to keep our society going because as a voice to the American Association of PAs for Army PAs, National Guard, Reserve, and across the board, so that they realize what we're capable of. And I was the 2017 PA of the year, military PA of the year, and before that, we really hadn't put names in for that. But once I got there, people were going, "Wow, you guys can do all that?" Because they read my bio and they, "Oh my gosh, you Army PAs!" And so since then, we've actually had the fourth one was just selected. So since 2017, 2018, 2019, and then the 2020, have all been Army PAs. People, so trying to maintain our we want the civilian PAs to know what we are capable of. That we just not go to war and just take care of battle wounds and so on. We're capable of so much more. I mean, it's great what we're doing, but once you get rank and so on, we're more capable of than just seeing the patient. I had someone tell me once that I was a waste of a lieutenant, waste of a PA. Here I'm a lieutenant colonel because I wasn't seeing patients every day. And I'm going, I'm a lieutenant colonel. I'm also an officer. So are you going to tell that doctor over there, that 06, that he's a waste of a doctor because he's not seeing patients? I was at least seeing patients once a week. He wasn't. And
must have been a GO that told you something like that. I'm like,
I was just like, what? And then I said, would you tell that to him? Oh no. I said, so why would you say it to me? And he apologized, but I was just like, wow, this was in 05. But that always trying to change the perception of others of what we are capable of, and so on. And that's been another thing I've always been a big promoter of. What can military PAs do? Not just take care of patients, even though that is so rewarding, but I want to be in charge so that I can help tell. You kind of get tired of people telling you got to do this, this, and this, because hey, I outrank you. Okay. Once you make rank, how you tell people or recommend to people how to do things, it's a little bit different. You learn how not to do that because people have always been telling you, things. So that's another reason why I kind of glad I stayed in, to show people that we can make these ranks and we can do those jobs that they were given to everybody else because, well, you PAs can only do this. And for many years, you guys are only good for seeing patients. So,
got you. So, ma'am, in closing, say for instance, PA wants to reach out to you for words of advice or, whatever information from you, guidance, because I'm sure you'd be glad to guide them. Where can they contact you?
Well, Facebook. Believe it or not, I actually am a member of several Facebook, the IPAP, the Army PA Facebook page, the Society of Army PA Facebook page. What else? Gosh, a lot of them. A lot of the classes have their own little Facebook page, and I'm a member of it. And Messenger, I've gotten phone calls from people from Afghanistan, Korea, odd hours. A guy called me from Hawaii just today. He's coming into Fort Sam late in the next few weeks. Okay, this is what I'm going to be doing. You got any ideas, suggestions, and so on? So no, they're able to get a hold of me. I've had folks that go onto the IPAP Facebook page, potential students, and they see my responses. Next thing I know, I get a message from them on Messenger saying, "Can I just ask you a question?" Well, of course, you can. So they're able to get a hold of me, and I am willing. I have no problem. And another thing, I volunteer with the Catholic parish on post. So I help at the 8 o'clock mass where the soldiers and sailors and everybody go. And one of the gentlemen works in the back. He's a retired EA. He always tells them, "She's a PA. If you ever want to know anything about it, go let her know." And so they'll come up to me after mass, and I give them my information. And believe it or not, I get text messages, phone calls, and from wherever they're at, saying, "Hey, this is what I'm doing now. I'm going to apply next year. Where do you think I need to be doing?" So
I'm going to let you know. I'm going to let you know something, ma'am. You're most likely going to have people inboxing you, sending you a message. Do you see the bottom of our screen right now? We got like a little ticker going on the bottom. That's the name and that's the location that people could reach out and contact.
Oh, yes. But if they just go to Pauline Gross Messenger, I'm there. I think I'm the only Pauline Gross, but again, if you just click on it, it'll say PA. So.
Okay. Well, ma'am, I really appreciate you coming out and just talking with us about your trailblazing history. I'm sure that you may have inspired a future PA. You may have answered some questions that some future PAs or current PAs may have. And I'm sure someone is going to reach out and ask questions and, search you out for some mentorship, of course.
Well, I hope so, because if we don't help those who come behind us, then what's going to happen? I mean, I feel it's not my obligation. This is how I serve, is to help others reach those points. Like Sharon Denson. I'm so excited for Sharon. She's going to make 06 one of these days. Aren't you, Sharon?
She will. She will.
Of course she is. She's just so, and I'm just so pleased at where the Army PA is now, based where it was 20 years ago. And it's because, not just because of me, others, those who are coming up now that are 06s and 05s, they're trailblazing. They don't take no. They just say, okay, let's do it. And I think I just love it.
All right, ma'am. Well,
Well, thank you.
I appreciate your words, and we will hopefully get a chance to, I guess, talk with you at another time.
You have a wonderful day, Otis.
Same to you, ma'am. You take it easy.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. So we had the awesome opportunity to talk to Colonel Retired Pauline Gross. If you are inspired by her words, and I'm sure many of you are, feel free to reach out to her, send her a message. I'm sure she'll answer back to you. PAs, physician's assistants, they're the ones who helped me a whole lot when I was during my time. I worked under a bunch of PAs during my Army enlisted time, and I'm sure there are civilian PAs as well out there doing a lot of work to serve our country. So, as I always say in parting, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and take care of others. Bye now.